Hip hop, hip hop.
If you're over the age of 35, stop everything you're doing right now. After a lifetime of eating fatty foods, you may run the risks of a stroke or heart attack due to plaque buildup in your veins and arteries. To learn how you can reduce your risks, visit youthfountainlab.com or call 1-800-853-7856 today. This may be a life-changing call for you or someone you love. Thank you, and we hope to hear from you.
Saving a Mafia kingpin's life, Benny thrives in a criminal environment and eventually brings his son into the fold. The son is ambitious like his father and expands the drug operation to farther-reaching areas of New Jersey. Little do they know, there's a powerful force lurking in the corporate and physical world, watching the growth of the Lasbury regime. Grab the House of Lasbury in the description box right now.
Welcome to another episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. I'm your brother, old guy from Hip Hop News Uncensored, and sitting across from me is my co-host.
What up, y'all? It's your man, Sam Ant from Viral Hip Hop News. You're in the building for another edition of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. So we got a special guest in the building.
Yeah.
Family law and domestic violence mediator, the lead attorneys on the podcast. How you doing today, sir?
I am doing great. And again, thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. Y'all brothers are doing your thing. So for me to be invited on y'all's platform, it's a great honor to me.
Nah, no problem, man. The pleasure's ours. Thank you for spending this time with us this afternoon,
Yes.
man. And let's just start from the beginning. You're a family law attorney and domestic violence mediator out in Atlanta, Georgia. So can you just take us back into people that don't know how you got into law and what are your upbringings and how you got into being an attorney?
Absolutely. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And I want to say, because people ask this all the time, because you hear stories about people who are attorneys and they're like, oh, I knew I wanted to be an attorney since I was 6 years old. Or, my mom got into a car accident when I was 9, and I knew from then on I was going to represent the people. Mm-hmm. And for me, it wasn't like that at all. For me, I was a business major in college. I went to UGA, and I found out very quickly that I was terrible in math. And they told me that I had made a D in pre-calculus, and they said, no, you got to do it again until you get a C. And so I said, forget it. I'll just change my major to English of all majors. I said, I'm going to do English because they told me I didn't have to take any math. So I started making, my grades were fantastic. I never studied because it was English. And then I got to my senior year and my advisor was like, okay, are you ready to teach high school? What are you going to do? I was like, teach high school? Hell no, I don't want to teach high school. I said, well, you got this English major, so you could either teach high school or you can get your PhD and teach college somewhere, English literature. I don't want to teach college either. And she looked at me and I don't know. So when I thought I was getting over by choosing the English major, and it came back to bite me. So she was like, well, you can try law school. And I said, well, okay, where do I need to sign up? Because I'm not teaching high school. And that's kind of where I ended up. And a lot of people, a lot of you guys don't know this, but most attorneys, we can't add. We cannot do math at all. I think even Michelle Obama was dropping some gems, telling you guys our secret, saying most attorneys, we cannot do math at all. And so many attorneys end up being attorneys because our math skills are so poor. So you have a ton of English majors, history majors, and poli-sci majors. Those are all attorneys. So that's kind of how I ended up being an attorney down here at Atlanta. I want to say it was all, I wanted to fight for justice and fight for the people. I couldn't add. So that's kind of how I ended up. And I've been here in Atlanta ever since. Been practicing about 20 years. And the practice of law, I don't want to lie, it's been good to me. There have certainly been some ups and downs, but it's been pretty good. And now, 20 years in, I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel like I'm kind of, on the down end, right? When you're practicing 3 years and you're practicing 5 years and 7 years, you're making money and you're here and there, you're hustling, you got all this energy, you're ready to go, you're ready to grind it out. But, once you hit year 15, year 17, it's like a basketball player, 20 years in the league. You're like, no, I'm done. Right. And so this is kind of how I got started doing this YouTube thing. What we had going on last year They had all these hobbies. They had all these hobbies that people were starting last year. And so I decided to start this YouTube channel as a hobby to get out some of the information that I have, because I've seen people's lives. I mean, I do divorces, and a lot of them, because I'm down here in Atlanta, they're high-end divorces, high asset divorces. A lot of men are losing a lot of money. And when you look around, a lot of men were losing so many assets by making just basic mistakes.
Right.
And a lot of men were getting screwed over in child support. They're getting screwed over or custody visitation with their kids. And they would wind up in situations that were so terrible. But if they had made just certain changes prior to falling into those traps, they could have avoided the whole thing. And in our community, you know, a lot of us don't grow up with fathers. And a lot of our fathers went through some issues that we never learned about. A lot of uncles don't tell us what they know. You go to the family barbecue, everybody's like, yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Nobody's telling you, hey, let me pull you to the side and tell you that my marriage is effed up. Yeah. All right. Let me tell you, you know, I cheated on my wife and this is what we're going through. Or my wife cheated on me and this is what I'm going through. And so Black men, you know, we're kind of left on our own devices to try to figure out all this stuff alone. And what I see is when you're trying to figure this stuff out, sometimes it's too late.
Yeah.
If you step in a bear trap and your legs caught in the bear trap, you're in it. It's not like, oh, you know, I'm learning because I'm in it. No, you are already in it. And a lot of times it's going to be too late. You can step on a bomb and you can be gone. And right. So what I'm trying to do with this YouTube channel, especially now that I'm getting older and, you know, I don't have any kids myself. I don't have a wife. So I feel, yeah, it's like, so I'm
lucky you,
right? Yeah. But, you know, it costs me benefits and you know, it's constant benefits. A lot of people feel like children are a blessing in a large way they are, right? And so shout out to all the fathers. We recently had a Father's Day. So shout out to all the fathers and stepfathers.
Sorry.
But for me, I'm just kind of, you know, I'm kind of on this rock alone a little bit. And I've been doing this for so long, and it cost me a lot to get this information into my head, like 20 years. But now that it's in there, it really doesn't cost me anything just to get it out. So I started this YouTube channel, and it's basically the purpose of it is to get this information out. They say that, you know, when an elderly person, let's say a grandparent, when a grandparent dies, an old person dies, it's like a library burning down because all that information just goes away with them, right? And so, you know, I don't have a diagnosis or anything that I know of, but I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to feel like I'm getting up there. And so I'm just trying to get all this information out to help the young brothers. You know, I have men on my channel who are 50 years old. Shout out to them because they really support me. There's nothing I can really teach to a 50-year-old. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I got 23-year-olds, 25-year-olds that say they want to get married and have a couple of kids, 27-year-olds. Those are the Black men that I'm really focused on. Now, of course, my channel is inclusive. I got a lot of women subscribers and you know, I'm trying to help everybody, but specifically my channel was started to help Black men, and we need it. We absolutely need it. And a lot of us are not talking to the younger generation. And so the younger generation comes behind us and they fall into the same traps that we fell into.
Yeah, I appreciate you, you know, standing on the pillar and doing what you do with the information. I want to talk to you, you know, since you're a divorce attorney and deal with a lot of relationships, what advice would you give a young man, you know, who, you know, is thinking about getting married, maybe he's in his, you know, upper 20s, early 30s. Would you, you know, prefer or recommend they get like a prenup to agreement? Because on the other hand, I wanted to ask you also, it's like how many of these marriages are actually even lasting, you know, long enough, you know, to even, you know, have any real benefit of it. So give us some advice on, you know, getting married and how long these marriages are lasting.
Yeah. Oh God, you asking the real questions. If a young man, let's say he's 25 and he wants to get married and have a couple of kids, fair enough. You know, a lot of people, you know, because I'm a man and because my channel is geared towards men, people will automatically put me in the manosphere. They'll automatically put me in the red pill community. I don't really know too much about the labels, but I'm not going to fight about where people put me. But I want to make it clear that, you know, I am not against marriage. Even though I'm a divorce attorney, even though I've seen terrible things happen in divorces, I'm not against marriage. There are a lot of reasons to get married. Here's the problem that men run into, when they're 23, 25, they want to get married, but they haven't been self-reflective enough to know why. They don't actually know what a marriage is. They think they know. They know what the illusion of a marriage is. They think that, I love this person so much. I want to be with her for the rest of my life. I don't want her to be with anybody else. I just want us to be together, and I want to have these kids. Let's say I want to have a couple of kids. Of course, I want to get married so that the kids grow up in a stable environment. They have this big image, but there's really no details to the image. They don't know what it's like 6 years into that marriage. They don't know what it's like when, the wife says, I've got a headache, but that's the 19th time that she said that. And you look up and you haven't had sex for 4 months, right? You don't know that. You don't know these things as a 25-year-old. And so what I would really like, and there's really no other way to do this than to talk to a man, preferably a black man that's been married, 15 years or more. You have to find out what marriage is. Marriage is it's such a huge step. It's such a huge obligation. I got in, I've done videos on Jordan Peterson and Boyce Watkins telling men, young black men, in Watkins' case, not Jordan Peterson, but, assuming these big obligations without the self-reflectiveness that comes along with it. And so the first thing I would tell a young man if he wants to get married is, talk to 3 men who have been married 15 years or more. And listen, if you look around in your whole circle and you cannot find 3 men that have been married 15 years or more, that in itself should tell you something. You asked about the probabilities of staying married. If you look around, none of your coworkers, none of your friends, none of your uncles, your father's gone, you don't know anybody that you can talk to, much less 3 men who have been married 15 years. That in itself should give you some, that should be a clue. I don't want to call it necessarily a red flag, but a lot of young men enter into marriages thinking that they're going to last until death. And it's just not the case. It's not the case. It's not an automatic thing. We know that about 50% of the marriages end in divorce. So 50% is already out the window. But what guys don't see, and what I see every day, and what guys don't see is that of that 50% that are married at any individual or any given point, let's just make it easy. Half of those marriages are bad marriages. You guys have no idea how many women are just staying with these men just for the finances. How many of these women are cheating on these men? How many women and men, husband and wives, have been sleeping in the same or sleeping in separate bedrooms for 4 years, 7 years? How many husbands and wives? You guys will see this. Like you'll have an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they're sitting down for breakfast, and the wife's down there, and the husband comes down there to get his coffee, and everybody's in the same room. The husband and the wife have not said one word to each other in 4 months. 4 months, but they're staying together for the kids. And the 8-year-old and the 12-year-old, they're in there still looking at each other like, can you see that? Can I cuss on here? I don't want to.
Do your thing, brother. Hey, do your thing.
But the 8-year-old and the 12-year-old, like, can you see this shit? Oh, yeah. And the wife, she's ignoring, and the husband is ignoring. These marriages exist today, but they don't show up in the statistics. They don't show up in the statistics because they're still legally married and they're still under the same household. So you say, 50% of the marriages work and 50% don't. No. If you are in a marriage where you have not spoken to your wife in 4 months, you have not gotten any type of oral satisfaction in 3 years, you are in a failed marriage. I don't know what to tell you. And, as a 25-year-old, these are the things that you will absolutely not see. I'll tell you, I recommend, I don't want to sound self-serving. I don't want to sound like I'm profiting. And, so to make it nice, I say that if a young man wants to get married, he should talk to 3 men over the age or 3 men who have been married 15 years or more. I'll be honest with you, though. If you really want the information, what you need to do is spend 1 hour with a damn divorce attorney in your city. Go down there. I know it's going to cost you $300. I know it's going to cost you $400. That divorce attorney, let's assume the divorce attorney has been practicing 10 years or more. Don't talk to somebody who's only been practicing 2 years. Talk to an attorney who's been practicing 10 years or more, 15 years or more. Go put your $400 down, right? You'll pay $400 for an Xbox, but this information that this attorney is going to give to you is going to change your life. He knows so many things about what a marriage really looks like. You know nothing as a 25-year-old who's never been married. You know, I know men who have been married 3 times. I can't tell them anything about a marriage because they already know. And some men will get married 3 times, get divorced, and get married a 4th time because, all right, those 3 didn't work. We're going to try again. There is something about the institution that they like, something about the stability, something about it. More power to them. There are ways that you can protect yourself, and I'm going to get to that because that was a great point that you brought up about the prenups. But this is one step back. This is, you know, turning the camera back 1 notch so you even get a fuller picture. Why in the hell are you getting married in the first place? Do you even know what you're trying to get into? I think the Japanese say that, you know, humans would be twice as happy if we got half of what we want. Right. And so many of these 23-year-olds, 25-year-olds, 27-year-olds, they want to get married, but they don't know the half of it. They don't know they would be twice as happy if they remain single or at least waited. I really don't advise any 23-year-old, 25-year-old to get married. Right. I really do believe that a man comes into his own a little bit later in life, especially black men, because, you know, it's more difficult for us in this country. If a black man gets married at 33, 34, like that's good. You got your head on straight. Hopefully you got some business about you. You don't have anything going at 25. But, you know, it's hard to say that because it could be that you meet the love of your life at 25, the woman that you should get married to. There are some positive, good marriages out here. There's some great marriages out here. But this great marriage, you know, if you meet this lady at 25, she might not wait around till you're 33. So you're in a pickle, right? But the number one thing that I think a man should do is just, number one, ask himself why. What is marriage? Do I even understand it? And if the answer is no, I do not understand it, and if that man is honest, that will be the answer. No 25-year-old understands marriage if he hasn't been married. You don't. If you want to find out what marriage is about, go to a divorce attorney. Go to a divorce attorney that's been practicing 10 years, and he's going to open your mind. He's going to tell you some details about millions of marriages out here. Not that he's representing millions of people, but there's only certain types of marriages that you're going to see in the United States. You know, in other places like India, maybe they'll have these arranged marriages. Maybe marriages look different. Let's say in certain parts of Africa where you have like polygamy and all this, fine. But in terms of marriages in the United States, there are only a few types, and you just see certain groups, and he's going to tell you, you know, your marriage could look like this. Because if you're 25 and you're going to get married, you think your marriage is only going to look one way. Yeah. You think that it's going to be you and her. You're going to pop out a couple of kids, and you're just going to live. And that might be the one way that marriage doesn't exist, right? There might be 10 different ways that attorneys say, okay, this is this type of marriage. This is this type of marriage. You rarely see a marriage where it's just hunky-dory, especially a long-term marriage. So that's the first thing. Ask yourself, why do you want to get married? And, you know, if it's for religion, because I've talked to some people who are like, I don't care what the marriage actually looks like. I have to get married for my religion. Well, there's nothing for me to tell you, right? You've already made your decision. But if you are not being forced into a marriage because of your religion, and if it is actually your decision, you need to find out what you're actually asking for. And if you don't know, and let me assure you that you don't know if you've never been married before, you need to talk to a divorce attorney. If you say, well, I don't want to pay the $400 consultation, fine. Talk to 3 men who have been married over 15 years. You say, lead attorney, I don't know 3 men who've married 15 years. Mm-hmm. I should tell you something, right? Now, you asked about prenups.
Yes.
Prenups are extremely important. There's a lot of talk, you know, about prenups in the manosphere on YouTube and in the red pill community. And so many men they tell other men that prenups do not work. They tell men that prenups get thrown out all the time and they don't work, and you shouldn't even, you know, they're toilet paper. And it is the furthest thing from the truth. There was a guy that blew up on TikTok a couple of months ago, 3 months ago, because he was making all these TikToks about how his wife was cheating with his best friend, how he lost half of the equity in his home, half of the brokerage accounts. He lost his job. He lost his sobriety. He said he lost God. He lost everything, right? And he blew up. And that TikTok had millions of views. And so I clicked on it and I found out, you know, he had a whole TikTok channel. So I was clicking on some of the other videos and he was like, no, a prenup wouldn't have helped me. Prenups are trash. And it was almost like he was justifying the fact that he lost all of these things that he could have still kept by the fact that he decided not to get a prenup in the beginning. So instead of saying, yeah, I lost all of this, but it was my fault because I didn't get a prenup, what he said was, I would have lost all of this anyway because prenups don't work and I'm a victim and there was no way to stop this tragedy. And it's not true. Prenups will absolutely protect you from getting ravaged. You can get a prenup. If you have a prenup, there is really no reason to get scared to be married. I mean, all of the bad things that are really going to be taken out or taken from you in a marriage can be saved with a prenup. Now, have prenups been thrown out in the past? Yes. And some people will say, oh, well, prenups have been thrown out, so you can't count on them. It's not true. If you ever hear that a prenup has been thrown out, you have to ask one additional question. You have to ask one question. The question is, why? Why was the prenup thrown out? You hear, oh, well, Steven Spielberg, you know, his prenup was thrown out and he lost millions. Okay, why was it thrown out? Oh, because he wrote it in a restaurant on the back of a napkin. Oh, well, right. You know, there you go. You write your prenup on a napkin. That's not a really great thing to do, right? Or you hear, well, somebody else's prenup got thrown out. Why? Oh, because they wrote it themselves. All right, were they attorneys? No, the dude's a mechanic. Well, you know, a prenup can easily be a 30-page legal document. You're going to tell me a mechanic can draft a valid 30-page legal document? That's like me being a non-mechanic trying to change out the catalytic converter. What the hell do I know? I don't know what a catalytic converter looks like. Right. I heard somebody say it. I don't know what it does. I can barely spell it, right? Why would I do that? Why would a mechanic draft his own prenup? Right. So there are certain protections. If you want to get down into the prenups just quickly, I'll tell you that there are generally 4 things you need for a valid prenup. Okay. You have these 4 things, you never have to worry about your prenup getting thrown out. Right. The first thing is it needs to be drafted by an attorney. You need to go to an attorney. Do not draft your prenup yourself. People try to do it. And then they put in silly things like, oh, you know, my wife cannot weigh over 165 pounds. You think a judge is going to uphold that, right? Is it, oh, you know, if we get divorced, I get full custody as the husband, right? Or if we get divorced, if she cheats on me, I don't have to pay any child support. Like ludicrous provisions that are invalid that a judge will never uphold. And if you have these things in your prenup, if you have invalid clauses in your prenup, a judge can easily say, you know what? Because of this invalid clause and this invalid clause, I'm just going to throw the whole thing out. I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to throw the whole thing out. The prenup is invalid, and I'm just going to give half of your stuff to her, and I'm done because I got 20 other cases behind you. Next, right? And it's because you were cheap. You didn't want to pay the $3,000 to get your prenup, and now you lost, you know, half of the equity in your home. You lost your half of the bank account, the savings, the retirement, the pension. The brokerage account. You lost everything because you wanted to save $3,000, right? Sometimes guys, we're our own worst enemies. So you need to have your prenup drafted by an attorney. And really what you need is 2 attorneys. A lot of people don't know this. What you need, if you're thinking about getting married, you need your attorney, right? But then have your fiance get her own attorney. A lot of times fiancés, what do? They'll sign it and then they'll turn around and say, I didn't know what I was signing. Hey, I didn't understand it. Guess what? If they have their own attorney, they can't say that anymore. If they have their own independent attorney, then their own attorney explained it to them, read it to them word for word, went over every page, every clause, every provision. Now they can't say that they didn't know what was in the damn prenup because they had their own attorney representing them, not a friend, a neighbor, no, someone that was representing them. And an attorney who doesn't have to really draft the agreement can just, revise it and look over it and review it. What are they going to charge? You're going to charge $1,500? It's nothing, right? So maybe you pay $3,000 for your prenup, and then you pay your fiance, because let's say she's not going to want to pay the $1,500 fine. You pay her $1,500 for the prenup to be reviewed by her attorney, and now you're squared away, right? So get your prenup drafted by attorneys, and get 2 attorneys, one for you and one for her. The next thing you guys need to do, and sometimes you guys try to slide things in, right? Guys try to be sneaky, and you'll be at the altar. And you'll be waiting on the damn 6-year-old to come out with the rings, and you'll be like, "Hey, baby, by the way, sign this 30-page prenup." And she's like, "What the hell?" All right, we're at the altar. My parents are here. The friends are here. Everybody got their hair and the makeup done. We got food here. The hotel, the venue, everything's here. How can you spring this on me? A lot of times guys will try to spring a prenup on a woman 3 days before the wedding and say, sign it or we're not getting married. That's coercion. That's duress. And many prenups have been thrown out. If you want to protect yourself, really, the prenup should be signed even before you buy the engagement ring, if we can be honest. Now, it's going to mess it up, the whole thing about, you trying to surprise her. But listen, if you give this lady an engagement ring, your little $15,000 engagement ring that De Beers conned you into buying, and she says, "I'm not going to sign a prenup," then guess what? You're out 15 grand. You don't get the engagement ring back. It was a gift. You gave it to her. So, it could cost you 15 grand just to find out if she's going to sign the agreement or not. Don't do that. $15,000 is a lot of money in our community to us, right? So don't just give it away willy-nilly. Have her sign the prenup even before the engagement ring, way before the wedding, at least 6 months before the wedding is the gold standard, right? You need to do that. So that's the second thing. The third thing, you need to disclose all of your financial resources. A lot of guys will say, "Okay, this is how much I have in the bank. This is how much I have in my 401k." And then they don't talk about the Bitcoin. Right? They don't talk about the Bitcoin. And then come to find out they got 80 grand in the Bitcoin that they hid. And when the prenup comes, let's say they get divorced and no one knew about the Bitcoin. And then later on, after the divorce, the wife finds out that you're flexing on Facebook because your 80 grand Bitcoin, went to 300,000 and went to the moon. She can file to reopen your divorce. The judge can give you the whole 300,000 because you are lying. Or even in the divorce, if it comes out that you lied in your prenup, that you did not fully disclose your finances, your financial circumstances, a judge can throw the whole prenup out. Sometimes guys try to get shady, which really doesn't make sense to me, because why are you even marrying a woman if you feel like you have to hide the stuff from her?
Right.
That should be your number one red. Guys, we miss so many red flags. Like, "Oh, I want to marry this woman, but I need to hide all my shit." Why are you getting married here, right? Why? What is pushing you to get married? Guys, no one is forcing you to get married. You're getting married from this, imaginary Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs Disney fairy tale thing that you have going on. Fine. But then why are you choosing this particular person, the same person that you feel like you have to hide everything from, right? Which leads me into my fourth point, right? So what do you have? You need to have your stuff drafted by an attorney. Attorneys, don't spring it on her. Try to give her the prenup 6 months before the wedding. Fully disclose your finances. Don't hide the Bitcoin, right? Don't hide the side hustles, the money that you're getting from some, a lot of guys, they want to start these companies and put them in shell companies and put those companies in shell companies and then want to base those shell companies on some island off of Hawaii, right? In some irrevocable trust. Why are you dealing with women at all if it's like that? If you have to hide so much stuff and you're paying all these accountants, you're paying all these T&E, these trust and estates attorneys to do all this, why are you even getting in this relationship with a woman if you don't trust her? So fully disclose all of your finances. Then number 4, and this is where it kind of gets a little, you kind of got to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of got to be fair. You cannot say in a prenup, we're going to be married 15 years, and if you divorce me, you get $30.
Right.
Sometimes the judge will absolutely throw that out. It's like, it's unconscionable. Like, you're trying to punish her. Like, what type of contract are you guys even getting into where she agrees that if you divorce her after 15 years, you go get $30? Like, so sometimes judges will be like, come on, like, you were really taking advantage. But if you can just, and again, if you want to give her $30, fine. Why are you marrying her in the first place?
Right.
Right. If you don't want to be fair to her. This is what gets me so much. And guys they don't think. They just react on them. A lot of the guys will say, oh, women are so emotional. Women are so emotional. Fine, fair enough. Do you want to get married? Yeah. Why? I don't know. I just feel like I want to get married. It's the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So guys really need to think and really be analytical and say, is this the person? And if I have to hide all this stuff, if I can't fully disclose my finances, if I have to feel like I have to give her $30 to punish her, she's not the one for you. I'm not saying all marriage is bad. I'm just talking about her specifically. The one you're trying to give $30 to, she's not the one, right? She is absolutely not the one. So prenups will absolutely work. Just get them drafted by attorneys, right? Just get them drafted 6 months before the wedding. Just when you draft them, fully disclose your finances. What do you got? And then just be more or less fair, right? And if you do that, you will absolutely be protected. So many men commit suicide after their divorces. Because they're like, I'm ruined. I'm 44 years old. Now I look at my bank account and it's the same that it was when I was 27.
Yeah.
But now I don't have the time. I can't get that time back. Maybe I could get the money back, but it might take me another 15 years. Now I'm 59.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like this woman set me back 15 years. I don't want to live anymore. A prenup would have fixed it all. Now, what else can you do aside from a prenup? So many guys are scared to have a hard conversation with their woman. And some people say that prenups should be automatic, right? But that's just to protect the soft guys. That's to protect the guys who do not want to sit their fiance down on the couch, take her by the hand and say, listen, this is what we're going to do. I love you and I want to protect you. And, I want to make sure we're all protected. And, we're going to go to attorneys and we're going to draft something up that's fair. They'll be too scared to do it. So if you're too scared to ask for a prenup, what's the Band-Aid solution that you can do? Well, the Band-Aid solution is try to find a woman who is around your economic level. Mm. If you're making $85,000 a year and she's making 80, 78, you're not going to get screwed over that bad because you're both are kind of equally contributing to the household. Even, in Atlanta, we got a lot of people balling down here. Even if you're making $350,000, if you can find a woman, making $280, right, and women are killing it down here too, you're really not going to get screwed over that bad. The problem is when you're making your $90,000 and she's making $12. Mm-hmm. But if you guys are making more or less the same, it's all good. The issue is when there's a big disparity. Mm-hmm. Because when there's a big disparity, the judge is going to want you to give so that she comes up. Yeah. This is where men get screwed. Men get screwed in the come up, right? When women come up, men get screwed. But if you're making 85 and she's making 85, guess what? She's right there. There's no come up. Right. So, and again, I'm talking strictly about the finances here. Guys are screwed over in two areas in divorces. One is finances, and then the other is children.
Right.
Prenups and marrying a woman who's more or less on your financial level, that addresses the finances. And those are two things that you can do to try to protect yourself, and they will work. If you're making 93 and she's making 90, it's not going to be that bad. I promise you. There's really nothing to fight about, right? Maybe you fight about the dog, who's going to get the dog, who's going to get the Tupperware. I mean, it happens. But if you guys are equally contributing, economically speaking, to the marriage, it's all going to be fine. But the issue is when, she's making 24, or she was working at the Foot Locker when you found her. And so you decided to have a baby. She don't want to go back to the Foot Locker. You look up, she's 3 kids in and she hasn't worked in 7 years. Mm-hmm. You're in trouble. you're going to be paying her attorney's fees. You're going to be paying alimony. And, you're going to lose at least half of your stuff so that she can come up, so that she can live in a way that she was accustomed to when y'all were together. Right. So those are the issues that you're going to face on the financial side with a marriage. And yes, a prenup will help you, and marrying a woman who's on your level, that will help you too. On the kid side, man, there's nothing you can do. Right. Yeah. People want to protect themselves on the kid side using the financial protections. They want to say, okay, I've got kids, so I'm going to write in the prenup that I get custody. I got kids, so I'm going to write in the prenup that I'm going to pay $100 in child support. A judge will throw it out every time. Those are two separate things. Judges decide what happens to kids. Right? You're fine to decide what happens to the house. You're fine to decide that you're not going to pay any alimony. You're fine to decide what happens to the 401k. The judge will let you do that all day long. You will not decide how much you're going to pay in child support. You will not decide who's going to get custody. You will not decide how much possession or visitation or parenting time you're going to get. A judge is going to decide all that. And you're at the mercy of the court.
Definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely.
No problem. And let me just say, I know we've been in. I can talk forever. So please, if I'm talking, do not feel like it's rude to jump in and steer this another place, because you'll ask me one question and I'll talk for 2 hours. I know you guys got to go after an hour, but please, I don't find it rude for you to jump in and steer me where you want to go, because I'll talk forever.
Nah, it's all good, brother. One thing we take pride over here on the platform is allowing our people to tell their truth. So we sit back and we listen. We're not in here to give your opinion during our interviews. We're here to listen. So you do your thing, brother. We definitely appreciate it. So as you were talking about earlier on in the interview, how you eventually took your practice on to YouTube, an interactive platform where obviously your word, your message can spread and touch the masses, which we all aspire to do once we gain YouTube platforms. What has been your overall thought and the overall feeling of YouTube now that you've gotten into it? You've gotten to see a little bit of what it's about. Do you think that this is the wave for people in your profession, in other professions that typically you don't see on your computer? Do you think that this is a new wave for professionals like yourself to get seen and get recognized more?
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere different there. That's a deep question right there. The answer is no. The answer is no. I don't think this is the wave. I think there aren't that many attorneys on YouTube, and it's for a reason. And I'm finding out that reason. My channel has been, because my channel has been so small, and it is so small. I only have like 25,000 subscribers. I don't get a lot of the heat that a lot of people get.
25 is a blessing, though, bro.
What's that?
That's a blessing, though. 25,000. That's not easy to do.
Yes, and it's been very difficult for me, especially because I'm older and trying to do all this stuff myself. And you guys already know, y'all have huge channels. I mean, trying to do this is ridiculous, especially as a person who's not very technologically advanced. Mm-hmm. Even trying to figure out how to work Final Cut Pro, I had to send Photoshop back. I was like, I can't do anything with this.
Yeah, that's hard.
Right? It was crazy, right? So right. And then I'm taking tutorials on Final Cut Pro. I'm taking tutorials on Photoshop, and because I kind of got this perfectionist thing, and I wanted these YouTube videos to look a certain way. And no matter, I would take a 3-hour tutorial on Photoshop and a 6-hour tutorial on Final Cut Pro. Mm-hmm. That's 9 hours just in tutorials alone. And then I would get in there and then spend countless hours, and then the product would be shit. I wanted to give up the whole thing. But let me go back to your question. Your question was, is this something that maybe more attorneys will start doing in the future? And I don't think it is at all. I will tell you that in terms of attorneys, we look at our time like maybe a Uber driver, right? An Uber driver, when he's sitting in the car and waiting, I've never driven Uber, right? But I suppose that if an Uber driver is sitting in the car and he's waiting for his next fare, or like DoorDash, and they're waiting in line to pick up they're looking at their time. You know very quickly that your time has value. Even like down here in Atlanta, we've got a lot of adult entertainers, right? And maybe the adult entertainers, you paid one maybe $3,000, and in her head she's like, okay, you need to hurry up, because the longer, now that I've got the $3,000, the longer that I'm here with you, I could be with somebody else making another $3,000. So you need to hurry up and do what you're going to do. That's how attorneys think of our time a lot of time. We see our time having a lot of value. And so an attorney can say, listen, I'm 7 years into the practice. I'm doing it. I could be spending my time doing more marketing. I could be spending my time, cultivating clients. I could be spending my time generating business. Why would I spend those 3 hours on a tutorial on Photoshop? Right? Why would I spend those 6 hours on a tutorial on Final Cut Pro? Not even to mention making the videos, right? Not even mention shooting them, scripting them. A lot of people don't know this, man. In my very first videos, I had a teleprompter.
Okay.
I had a teleprompter, and then I scrapped that one and then bought a better teleprompter.
Damn.
It was like I was losing money left and right. Being on YouTube is not something that attorneys are going to flock to because it is a losing proposition. If you value your time at $400, $500 an hour, and it takes you 20 hours to make a video, and then you make that video, and then as soon as you upload it, YouTube demonetizes it.
Right.
You'll never make enough. You'll make one video. An attorney will be like, no, you're going to demonetize this, or even if they don't, and then after a month you get 12 cents. So like it's YouTubers. I think YouTubers in the profession, unless you got like 1 million subscribers, 3 million subscribers, fair enough. But you're going to find a lot of professionals on here who really have a message, right? They're really trying to help. The people that are really about money, they're not going to do this. They're not going to do this because you lose money. You lose time and you lose money. And then on top of that, Jesus, the criticism. Right? You guys know who Tommy Sotomayor is.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
And I had him on the channel a couple of times. And what I found out was that there is a group of people that follow him around.
Yeah.
And I didn't appreciate that. And I didn't appreciate the fact that when I had him on my channel, guess who was going to show up? That group of people.
Yep.
And those people were in the chat. I mean, my chat, especially because my channel is so small, my chat has always been so pure. It's just a family. Right? It's just a family. We all know each other. We all talk. I'll do these live streams. More people are talking to themselves sometimes that are listening to me. I mean, they're doing their own thing. And it's a beautiful thing. When Tommy came in, people were putting words in the chat I'd never even seen before. I was like, whose chat is this? Oh, it's your chat attorney, elite attorney, right? But so the negativity, there's no reason for an attorney who's still trying to run and gun, still, 7 years into the practice, 13 years into the practice, 25 years in the practice, but they got 3 kids in college. Why in the hell would you start a YouTube channel? It's easy. I don't have any kids, right? So there's nothing for me to pass this stuff down to in terms of, economically, like, why am I even right?
Right.
But so I'm in a different place. I'm in a special place. But because of the hate that you're going to get, because of the time commitment that you're going to get, and because you're never going to recoup the money that you could have really spent doing your business, not even working on the cases, because, you can get staff attorneys, you can get paralegals, you give them that work and you work on generating your business. The time that you're going to spend on YouTube, you're never going to get back. So the reason that I'm on it, number one, it was the quarantine thing, but what I really want to do is get this information out before, I get a little bit too old and I want to do something else. I'm really trying to help you guys because I've spent the last 20 years. You see a grown man cry. You're like, how many times? I'm tired of that. Yeah. And it's for something like, if I could have gone back 7 years in this man's life and said, do this one thing, the dude, he'd be super happy. I divorced guys. I've been handled cases where I divorced the guy, and the guy's like, cool, where's the paper? Done. And he goes to Outback and buys himself a steak. He's cool. Right. Because he didn't fall into certain traps. But there are other men who will absolutely fall into traps over the stuff that I know. Okay. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give it away. And now I've been frustrated. YouTube, I've been on 14. I've been on 14 months. And this has definitely been a learning experience. One thing I will tell you is that attorneys, we are used to working one-on-one with people. So if I represent you, Tuesday morning down here in Atlanta, I'm in court with you, and it's you and me, and I'm not representing anybody else. You're my sole focus. Now, maybe after our court hearing, maybe I'll go to another court hearing the same day, and it's me and this gentleman, or me and this woman. I represent women too. What YouTube has given me for the first time in my life is an ability to influence multiple people at the same time. That's something that's foreign to an attorney. We are used to helping a little amount of people individually. There's only so many people you can help in 1 year individually. But, I had a live stream last month, for my channel. It was huge. I had 3,000 people on the damn live stream.
It's amazing.
Right? When is one attorney going to be able to talk to 3,000 people? I don't represent 3,000 people in a whole year. So to me, this is eye-opening. This is absolutely eye-opening. So I love YouTube in that respect. And for a person who kind of sees himself as an old dog now, a person who sees him, I'm starting to, let's be honest, starting to wind it down a little bit. I'm just trying to get all this information out. And, for me to get this information, I had to go to college, which was 4 years, go to law school 3 years, and then another 20 years of practice. So that's 27 years, it's almost 30 years. For me to sit in this chair, it took me 30 years of my life. It was the most expensive thing that I've gotten, right? This knowledge. But now that I have it, it costs me nothing to give it away. And so that's what I'm doing. And when I see comments that are people saying, "Oh, lead attorney, you're changing my life," or "Oh, lead attorney, you've made me see this situation in a different way," or, "I'm going to share this video with my son." Women and men have said this, right? Like, my son needs to see this. It really makes me feel good. And I know a lot of men are not going to take the initiative to talk to the older generation. I know for some of the people in our community, they don't even have that option. There are really no old men to talk to about these things.
Right.
I know a lot of men in our culture, they're not going to spend the $400 to go down to talk to an attorney in their city. Fine, I got you. Just sit here and just watch these videos, right? And so that's kind of the purpose of my channel, to help guide the younger generation and give them the information that they need. But because I don't want to call it a selfless act, because YouTube does pay me and people support me. But if you really add up my time, right, and then you calculate it out, I'm losing money every day on this damn thing. Yeah. But it's okay, because I'm not 7 years in trying to grind. I've done that already. So I'm kind of, I'm winding it down now. So because of my certain stage, and because I don't have kids in college or anything like that, I have the luxury of being able to give away things that most people cannot give away.
Understood.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I want to talk about, because you talked about a lot of people, had some real good subject matter on your channel I've been watching over the last couple of weeks. One in particular was Charlemagne the God. You talked about him extensively. Kind of going to that for our audience, man. What's been your expertise on his case? I'm not gonna say the word, obviously we know why we can't say it, but his case has been ongoing, and the battles he's been going back and forth on YouTube, from an attorney's, expertise. Talk about that, will you?
Yes. I'm not sure how much your audience knows about this Charlemagne situation, because I didn't know anything about it. Okay. I knew nothing about it until Kwame Brown hit. And when Kwame Brown hit and started talking about Charlemagne the God, and he said some things that were, a little bit too strong, and Charlemagne the God, he ran to his attorneys and sent Kwame Brown a cease and desist letter. And Kwame Brown got the damn letter and said, "Oh, okay, this is what we're doing." And so he retracted what he said, but then he hit him even twice as hard, because he showed the damn indictment when he was indicted down in South Carolina for, just the terrible act. And so it was an interesting process for me to figure out kind of what was going on. And a lot of people knew about this, but a lot of people didn't. I saw people commenting on my channel. I was like, "Man, I'm learning this from you." And that's how, because I was getting criticism like, "Oh, why are you talking about this? This is 2 years old." I didn't know about it. Right. And so Kwame really shined the light on it. And, there's so many, I've done so many videos on it. There's so many aspects that we could talk about this case. And one of the big ones was, Charlemagne was not prosecuted fully because Jessica Reed is one of the victims. Jessica Reed's mother did not allow her to testify, and she did not allow her to testify because she was 15 years old. Mm-hmm. So the state, the state of South Carolina, yes, they convened the grand jury and they issued the indictment, and they were coming after him. So many people are like, oh, well, Charlemagne the God, he was allowed to plead out because the state didn't really want him. No, the state was coming after him. They really were. But the state decided to listen to the mom. The state decided to grant the mom's request that the daughter not testify. So they dropped it down to a misdemeanor.
I just want to ask you one question right there. In certain cases, I know like in New Jersey, we're from New Jersey, if, the state has such a good case, even without star witnesses, the star witness, which would be the lady, Jessica Reed, wouldn't they still, in your opinion, go after him if they had, a strong enough case without the star witness, or it doesn't happen like that?
It absolutely can. You're absolutely right. It depends on the DA. So usually what you have is some type of district attorney, some type of main prosecutor, and then you have all these underlings who actually do the work. You don't really see the main prosecutor in court because they're like the head, but they make the tough calls. And, I'm not sure who the prosecutor was, the main DA, the main district attorney, but it could be the prosecutor, the assistant working on the case was talking with the victim's advocate, talking with the mom, talking with Jessica. We don't really know what Jessica's mental state was at the time. You heard the mom and Jessica, you heard her say that, you even heard Charlemagne. Charlemagne said that Jessica was in the room flipping out. She was in the room screaming. She was in the room kicking over TVs. Right. Yeah. And now she's home, and the mom, at the hospital, the mom was like, her brain, she's gone through all this trauma. And it could absolutely be where the mom says, listen, if you force my child to take the stand, and they could have done that. They could have subpoenaed Jessica at 15. They could have forced her to. Okay. If you force my child to take the stand, then she might lose it. She might lose it all. And it could be the prosecutor was like, it could be the prosecutor was a woman. It could be the prosecutor was a mother or a dad who had a daughter at the same age and just didn't want to risk it. So they decided not to call her. Now, here's the thing about prosecutors. Do they want to do justice? Yeah, fine. Okay. Mm-hmm. They are worried about their numbers. Okay. They are worried about their conviction rate. Prosecutors want a high conviction rate. That's in no matter what they say, that's in every prosecutor's office in the country. They want a high conviction rate. No prosecutor wants a low conviction rate. So it's like what you're saying is, well, if she didn't testify, could they have used circumstantial evidence? Yes, but their case would be so shaky. They would risk losing. Prosecutors do not like to lose. If the choice is having this case with no star witness on a felony charge and maybe losing, or having a misdemeanor charge, but having him plead guilty so we get our conviction and our rate goes up, they're going to take the bird in the hand, right? They're going to take the bird in the hand. And so that's what they decided to do. And because they're so focused on their conviction rate, I don't know if you should blame them or not, because I feel like prosecuting officers should not be worried about the damn conviction rate. They should be worried about justice.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't want to be in a situation where you're arrested and now instead of looking, here's what defense attorneys and prosecutors are supposed to do. Defense attorneys are kind of supposed to win at all costs. They're not playing the same game. Defense attorneys are supposed to find basically any legal way to win. That's not what prosecutors are supposed to do. Prosecutors are supposed to just put a case up and let the jury decide, let the judge decide. Prosecutors are not trying to win. There's no win for prosecutors. They're just letting they're letting the jury decide. If the jury says yes, fine. If the jury says no, fine. Prosecutors shouldn't care. That's what people don't see. It's not like defense attorneys against prosecutors. No, this defense attorneys trying to find a way to show that the state didn't follow their obligation. And then prosecutors are just supposed to go for fairness. It's not what they do. Prosecutors try to win every single day. They are trying to win. And so this kind of goes along with it. You say, well, why didn't they just do the case on circumstantial evidence? Because they might not win. You know, they would rather plead it down, have him sign, say he was guilty, and then say, see, he signed, say he was guilty. This is a conviction. Our rate goes up.
Right. Another thing I wanted to ask you, I know you've been studying the case, the fact that he went down and I think he got arrested, obviously, for the crime, and then he gave up like his blood and everything. When they took up the R kit from Jessica Reed, wouldn't they be able to, I'm just actually, I don't know, match up, you know, the samples, if there were any samples with them too? Did it go that far? Or did it stop at that point where she said she didn't want to testify? Then none of that stuff comes in at that point?
That's correct. If she does not want to testify,
okay.
And again, there's this whole thing about this DNA kit because so much of the DNA wasn't tested and it was inconclusive, right? Okay. But you can throw it away. If the victim says that she doesn't want to testify, and if the state is going to allow that, and the state's going to be like, no, we're not going to subpoena you and make you testify. If you say you don't want to testify, if the state's like, fine, you don't have to testify, they can burn all the evidence. They can throw it away. It doesn't matter. The state is not going to look at, the only reason the state looks at evidence is because they're trying to either decide to prosecute the case or they are in the actual prosecution of the case. But if they've already decided not to prosecute, then the evidence, no one really cares about the evidence. All right.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So I was just saying that's a great question, but yeah, the evidence really is just now in the public opinion, and people are all confused about the DNA. But the state, once they decided that they were going to drop the charge down to contributing to the delinquency of a minor and allowed him to plead out, they don't really care about the DNA.
Great point. Thank you for breaking that down. Well, I'll end it on this because I know you're pressed for time. We're almost within our hour. With the lead attorney on the Hip Hop and Censor podcast, definitely appreciate you. It's a lot of unanswered questions and slippery slopes when it comes to this whole ordeal. And years ago, our platform and our audience are well aware because we've covered this for some years now while it was going on. And you see a lot of Black men put against Black women and a lot of he say, she say. And then it ultimately comes down to who do I like more as opposed to justice. So on our platform, we like to pride ourselves on not giving people what they want, but giving people the neutral side of every situation. So when we hear so much hate on Charlemagne, we gave the but what ifs. And a lot of people got mad at us for that, but we didn't care. We stood on our morals and go what ifs, even though a lot of people and a lot of their criticism towards Charlemagne the God is justified because you can't go back on a lot of the nonsense that man spewed out of his mouth. Yeah. But we ultimately want to gather truth. And unfortunately, on YouTube and other platforms, if they don't like you, you're automatically guilty. And then that leads down a very dark road. So we appreciate honest perspective from somebody that doesn't have any chip in the game or anything, any other ulterior motive, anything, just wanted to give the honest truth to hear their perspective because it's very difficult to get, especially on these platforms.
Oh, thank you. And I totally agree. And, you know, attorneys, we're all, you know, we're the what if gang too, right? So attorneys are basically trying to seek the truth just like you guys are. And I would not have, to be honest with you, I would not have even made those Charlemagne the God videos if he had not gone on all these interviews and talked about, you know, what he said, and then about not only about Jessica Reed, but about other women too. If he had just stayed quiet about the whole thing, I would have never made it because I'm feeling like I'm trying to convict you and stir up all this dirt when there's no evidence, you know, there's nothing. Mm-hmm. But when you yourself go on all these different platforms over all this time and you start talking to me, you've opened up the door. You've invited this in. But I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think that's really every channel. It's hard to say every channel, but to me, that's the highest element, in my opinion, that any channel can have, you know, just focused on neutrality and focused on the truth and not all this various mud slinging just to sling mud. And I try to mirror that. I try to mimic that on my channel as well. So if he had never said anything if he had never admitted to anything, there's no way I would have made one video.
That's fair. And he deserves that criticism because it came out of his mouth. Whether or not he was admitting to guilt or what he was doing while he was being irresponsible behind a microphone. He deserved that criticism.
Real quick, do you think that he should address it, the situation, or you think it's better, as an attorney, for him just to be quiet and hope it goes away at this point?
He should shut up. He should shut up. And honestly, this is what we were just talking about before. If he had shut up at the beginning, we wouldn't even be talking about this. Yeah. If he had shut up at the beginning, there would be 8 less videos on the lead attorney's channel. Right? So many people, have stirred this up again because of the things that he has said. Yeah. And so, he really, just like you said, he brought this on to himself. Not even talking about what he did, right? But even giving him the benefit of the doubt, and let's just say he didn't do anything. The fact that he's admitting to stuff is allowing people to come in and say, listen to what you are admitting to. Okay. And it's one thing if you admit to this in the 60s, but it's 2020, 2018, 2021, right? So to me, he has to just hunker down, right? And just, take it, because this is, people always talking about free speech and everybody has the right to free speech, and fair enough, but there are consequences that come along with your exercise of the free speech. And so he got to exercise his free speech on all these interviews. He's got to exercise his free speech on all these podcasts. Fine. Here come the consequences.
Definitely. And it's, we're at that hour mark. So we definitely appreciate the lead attorney. Real quick, give people your contact information, your YouTube channel, your social media handles real quick, brother. Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. I'm just a simple guy. You just find me at the lead attorney on YouTube. So you just Google just put on YouTube the lead attorney, and you will you'll find me. I don't really have Facebook, or I've got just Instagram with 4 posts. I don't even look at that. I need a social media manager. I need to be big like you guys. So if you just want to find me, just go to the lead attorney on YouTube. But again, let me thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And you're some strong brothers doing your thing. And so hopefully one day I'll be where you guys are. I really appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Anytime, man. The platform is open. Anytime you want, hit us up. We would love to have you back on the platform. And if you're ever in New Jersey area, we'd love to have you in studio.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Will do. Thank you so much for the invite.
Take care, brother. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.